Okay, this is exercise 3-4. First step, open. Actually, sorry, file, new. We're going to create a new family. We're going to create a door panel. We're going to look for generic model face-based. Right here. And then we're going to say open. Now, if you don't have those files, you may have downloaded Revit incorrectly. You had to download all of the Imperial files with Revit, and it was a checkbox that you needed to check. So you might have to uninstall Revit and then reinstall it, and just make sure that you're paying attention so that you do download the material database with it. If you can't see those files from the ones I just opened. Double click on the right elevation. We're going to create a couple different reference planes here. We're going to create a horizontal reference plane, and at this point it really doesn't matter where you put them. We're just going to set them on the drawing, and then we're creating two reference planes to the left of the existing one. Alright, then we're going to, step number 5, we're going to look at some of the dimensions that are given to us in the book. So I'm going to go to annotate, dimension between this reference line and this one, and then I'm going to dimension between all of these reference lines. So this horizontal reference plane should be at 6 feet 5 3/8 of an inch. So I need to change this to 5 3/8 of an inch and hit enter. And then up here, these ones should be equidistant from each other. It looks like we have an overall dimension of 11 inches and 5/16. So I'm going to first do that. 11 inches and 5/16 of an inch. Hit enter. Oops. Sorry. There we go. And then these dimensions should be equal. So when I click on that, you should see EQ. If I click on that, it just equals those dimensions. Step 6, I'm going to select the horizontal overall dimension right here. And then I want to select create label from the rivet. So create up here, and I'm looking for label from this ribbon. Pardon me, select the dimension, then you hit label the dimension. So here's the label the dimension. Click on this little parameter button. It brings up this whole box of properties for the parameter. So under parameter data, we want to type thickness. I want to enable type and then say OK. Then we're going to select the vertical overall dimension. So this is the vertical overall dimension. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to create a parameter, and this one's going to be called height. Enable type and say OK. And actually I think that these two need to be switched because that doesn't make any sense. This should be the height. So let's go back to this, click on it, oops, and let's change the label here to height, and apply, and let's change this one to thickness, and apply. Oh, and now it's messed up the order of our things just a little bit, so I'm going to have to go back and I have to change this back to the 11 and 5/16 of an inch. There we go. So that makes more sense. This is the height, 6 and 5 3/8, and then we have 11 and 5/16. Okay, and then over here in this middle one where it's got the EQ, we're going to click on this. We're going to rename it, and this is going to be called mid-plane. Okay. And then we want, oh, sorry, this one's going to be called midplane. Then we want this reference line to be called interior. Okay, so that's midplane, that's interior. We're going to activate the front elevation. And we're going to add a vertical reference plane to the left. So create a reference plane, and we're creating one to the left over here. The distance doesn't matter quite yet. We want to put a dimension between these two. Pull that up. Then when we want to click on the object we want to move, when we do that, this turns into a temporary dimension. And we can type in that temporary dimension, 3 feet, 0 and 25 30/2 of an inch, and hit enter. We're going to select that overall dimension, create a label, and we want the name of this to be width. Say OK. And then we're going to activate the Manage ribbon. And we're looking for the Materials tool, so there's a Materials tool right here. And then I want, clicking here, this shows us our library. We're going to do a search for mahogany. If it's hard to see, you can kind of stretch these boxes out. Don't feel like you have to leave them the same size. So you can start just typing part of mahogany up in the search box and it shows up down here. So you can see a couple different mahogany materials. I'm going to highlight the first one. And then if I right click on it, I can say add to document materials or favorites. I'm going to add to document materials. I'm going to click on it. I'm going to go to the graphics tab and select use rendered appearance. So again, when it renders it, it'll put more of a wood look in there. Okay, we're going to clear the search bar. And we're going to highlight the default material here, duplicate it. So I can right click, duplicate it. And then I want to rename it Paint Canvas. Okay, with that selected, I want to go to Identity, and then it asks you in the Identity tab to add a description. So in the description, we want to put Paint Interior. The class should be a paint coating. In comments, we're going to leave that blank. And then keywords, it says canvas, comma, beige. Under the Appearance tab, we're going to select the color button, so this right here. We want to edit the color. Select one of the empty custom color slots. And then I want to change the values over here, so the red, green, and blue. So red we want to be 244, green should be 236, and blue is going to be 215. And I imagine this is making a beige-like color. And then we're going to hit add, and it puts that color over here in this slot. And we could say OK. And we're going to go to the Graphics tab. We're going to select Use Rendered Appearance. And then I'm going to come over here and do a search for glass. I get glass down here. I'm going to duplicate this material. And I want to rename it Frosted Glass. I'm going to launch the asset browser, so that's down here. again, and I'm going to do a search for frosted glass. And I see frosted white, so I'm going to click on that. And I'm going to click replace this asset in the material. So I'm going to add it to first. We can close the asset browser. We can come over to the appearance tab. We see that frosted color. And then we have to do some changes. So it says in the solid glass section, we want to change the color to blue. In the relief patterns section, we want to enable it and put rippled, so it's adding texture to it. And then we want to enable the tint. We want to change the tint color to cyan, so that's going to be this one. I'm going to say OK. In the graphics tab, we're going to click Use Rendered Appearance, and then we're going to say OK. Now we're going to create some parameters to control the material settings. So we're going to activate the Create ribbon, and on the Create ribbon, we want to select the family type, so that's this button right here. And we're going to create some parameters for the materials. So we want to select a new parameter, which is our little paper with the sunshine next to it. For this new parameter, we're going to type panel exterior. Make sure type is selected. For the discipline, it's going to be common. For the type of parameter, we're going to select material. For the group parameter under, we want it to be materials and finishes. So once we have that, we'll say OK. And let me just make sure. Alright, so under materials and finishes, we have the panel exterior parameter. We're going to click on the material here. And we want to select mahogany for the door. We're going to say OK. Then we're going to create another parameter, and this name is going to be panel interior. A type is a common. We want material here, materials and finishes. Say OK. And then for the panel interior, we want to click on the material finish, and we want it to be paint canvas. We're going to say OK. Then we're going to create a new parameter, and this one's going to be called glazing. Type of parameter is a material. Oops, material. Materials and finishes. Type, say OK. Click on the material dialog box. We're finding the glazing parameter. Where's our glazing parameter? Oh, frosted glass blue. Here it is. And we're going to say OK. Okay, so now we see frosted glass here. We see mahogany and paint canvas. So that's those steps. We're going to say apply and then OK. And then over here under elevations, we want to rename the front elevation front exterior. And then the back is going to be back interior.